Hey, welcome back to Reddit Cheating Wife, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to the channel for cheating stories like this.
Caught my wife, 24 female, of 2 years about to cheat with my 30 male best friend, 30 male. To keep this as brief as possible, I'll start with some background information. I met my wife, who we'll name Jess, around 6 to 7 years ago. We were just pals until we both got out of pretty awful relationships. We were there for one another in everything. We became closer and finally began dating. We dated for a little more than a year. Then she became pregnant. We had a son and chose to marry soon after. Everything was going swimmingly. I know we're both to blame. After we'd been together for a time, I started having trust difficulties. She told me about her background and the 2 men she had cheated on. I had entirely trusted her up until that point, which scared me, but I tried not to let it alter anything. Jess has a history of melancholy, anxiety, and agoraphobia, in addition to being by her uncle. These were the things I was assisting her with while she was visiting a therapist. My family has a long history of depression, which contributes to my portion of the fallout from all of this. Never knew any of this until just a couple nights ago. I had no idea things were becoming worse with me since everyone blamed my personality changes on the fact that I work 2 jobs 6 days a week. My wife only works on weekends and maybe for a few hours during the week. I'm now looking for assistance coping with it and putting her history behind her. Tim, my buddy, comes next. Tim made many efforts to separate Jess from her boyfriend at the time long before we even met. Jess shot him down and banned his phone number as well as all social media accounts. I didn't find out about any of this until after Jess and I were dating. Tim was usually aloof and ignored her when we had barbecue get-togethers. When we told him Jess was pregnant, all he could say was, "I need a coat hanger." He then proceeded to spout nonsense about Jess to everyone. We had a falling out and didn't speak for about 2 years. Last Christmas, he sent us both apology cards, and we got down and spoke it all out. Tim has a history of interfering with people's relationships. This has happened at least twice lately. I informed Jess that I've known Tim since I was 6 years old and that he's not over you. My workload will significantly grow over the next 3 to 4 months. This took time away from me and my wife, so Tim took advantage of the chance to converse more with Jess. I began having problems with it when she would be at work until 12 a.m., chatting and messaging him nonstop all day while neglecting our son. I warned her that things needed to change after glancing at her phone bill and finding that she had texted him 1,500 times in 4 days. They never followed through. She was always messaging him no matter where we went. My suspicions developed that this was more than pleasant conversation until yesterday night, when they went out together for driving lessons with my wife, which would only take a couple of hours. They departed at 2 p.m., and by 10 p.m., I was skeptical. I used my iPhone's Find My iPhone app to locate where they had parked the vehicle. A well-known location for up. So I decided to look into it. When he opened his vehicle door, they were both nude in the back seat. I'd arrived just in time to prevent anything worse from happening. I'm furious, the police arrive, and I ordered Tim to stay away and never contact any of us again. We get home, my wife is a shambles, and I'm at a loss for what to do. I assured her we'd go to marital counseling and each of us would visit a therapist. This ended up being longer than I had hoped, but the venting was beneficial. I think what I'm looking for right now is an outsider's viewpoint. I still love my wife, but is this worth repairing? Story 2. I feel like I may have cheated on my GF while I was drunk at a party. I'm a 25-year-old man in a relationship with a woman, 24. On New Year's Eve, we all went to a home party. This home party was thrown by a man, therefore there were a lot of gay males in attendance. So I start chatting to this man at some point. At first, we simply spoke about usual topics, but then he said that he's. So here's the deal, I'd absolutely consider myself. I've never looked at a guy and been attracted to him. But, for some reason, I occasionally love viewing gay porn, and I believe I'm very open-minded, and I've pondered in the past how it would be to physically explore things with a man. So, he claims but he's also had with women and loves it on occasion, and so on. So he inquires about my orientation. I tell him I'm gay and have a girlfriend. When he asks whether I've ever had any experience with a male, I tell him that I kissed a guy years ago and that I sometimes watch porn. However, I also say that I am never attracted to males in real life. At this point, I'm enjoying the chat since I don't often get to discuss my sentiments with my friends or other straight males. I was fairly inebriated, so I don't recall precisely what happened, but I remember him saying how he thought I was beautiful and asking me something like, "So would you be open to exploring things with a person like me?" So I answered, "Well, no, I have a girlfriend, lol." And I firmly said to him, It's nothing personal, but you should know that nothing will happen between me and you, the guy. So he was like, I understand that, but what if you were single? So I simply answered, I think that might happen if I was single and drunk. Then he asked if I wanted to view some films of him, some man on his phone, to which I politely declined. He asked me a couple more times and even brought out his phone to show me, but I simply shrugged and told him it didn't seem right to be watching him someone. So he remarked something like, but I thought you enjoyed porn? So I answered, sure, but I'm not interested in viewing yours. Then he said that there's nothing wrong with that since we're both just men. So I said, yeah, but it's different because there's definitely some type of tension here, which makes it seem improper. So he said, do you think you'd be willing to do my porn? So I responded something like, yeah, maybe, but I don't want to see it. So he continued to inquire as to the size of my. I said I wouldn't tell you. He then remarked something like, I assume it's X inches. So I told him, nah, larger dude. Then he says, okay, X inches. So once again, I said no. Then he said X inches, the proper size, and I burst out laughing. So, at this point, I had become a little uneasy with the talk, so I excused myself and departed. So here's the deal. I made it clear that I didn't want anything from him. But I still get the impression that, because I was inebriated, I allowed this talk to go on longer than I would have been comfortable with. And if this had been a woman instead of a guy, I would never have been so frank. But maybe it seemed more appropriate since it was a gay male rather than a woman? So, I'm sober now and I've been thinking about this all day. I'm not sure what to think of it, and I'm scared that I cheated on my girlfriend by being so open and answering his questions. And what are your thoughts on this? Story 3. She cheated on me with her boss. My ex-girlfriend, 19-year-old female, and I had a falling out around 4 months ago. During this time, we'd been dating for about a year, and we were both ready to attend college, where we'd be sharing a 2-story apartment in the same building as each other. While sitting on my couch one night, she reached for my phone, and I reached for hers, and the first thing I noticed was a text from an unknown number reading, "Thanks, sweetheart." I inquire as to who it is, and she responds that it is her supervisor from work, who, by the way, is 35M and has a wife and children. I swiftly transport her to my residence, and I was at a loss for what to do at the moment. I sent a text message to a colleague who is best friends with another female who works with my girlfriend at the company where I work. I get in touch with this girl who works with my girlfriend, and she immediately starts spilling the beans. Because of her incessant caressing and groping at work, her bosses were already suspicious of this relationship when she started. Furthermore, they both worked late nights and spent a lot of time alone in the manager's office. Though frustrated, I was concerned for this young lady and decided to give it another go, my mistake. After a week, she tells me that she wants to be in a relationship, but that she is open to talking to anybody she wants. This came across to me as her expressing an interest in sleeping with me, which I did not approve of. However, she then claims that she merely wanted to communicate with other people before divulging that she had continued to speak with her boss despite my warning that she needed to stop. At this time, I was becoming agitated, so we decided to take a break. She got in touch with me a week later, and we were able to resume our romance. I also sent a letter to her place of employment, informing them of the incident but without naming any names. I got an email from her general manager, in which she said that they were already aware of the situation and that they were looking into it. As a consequence of our shared frustrations, she found out about it and blew out on me, which ultimately led to the end of our relationship. How well did my actions go? Was my judgment correct?